Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and we have got the February, what day is it? 16th Bracketology update. I did this once again last week. We're doing it every Monday up to the selection show. And what I'm doing is just my top four seeds. I'm ordering each team in that seed line 1 through 4. And let's have some fun with it. Obviously, this is not going to be agreeable at all. Everyone has their own opinions about the bracket, but that's what makes it so fun to talk about. But starting off with the 1 seeds, I've got a new number 1 overall seed, and it is the Michigan Wolverines. Arizona obviously dropped those 2 games, so they're off that top overall line. But Michigan, man, they are the top in the net, top of Ken Palm. Best record in power hoops now, not including Miami of Ohio, obviously, because they're in the MAC and their resume is what it is. But Michigan, man, top team in the country to me. Survived a scare against Northwestern recently. They were able to just kind of settle in, come back, and really flex their muscles over that Wildcats team. Michigan, to me, is the number 1 overall seed. And then number 2 overall, that's where I have Arizona. I'm not worried about them at all. Losing that game at Fall Gown, at Kansas is fine. They had no Koa Pete for the second half, really, of that Texas Tech loss. I still like them a lot. And what you just saw is that they're not invincible, right? And what you saw those 2 losses is that they're college kids playing basketball. So I'm not worried about Arizona at all. But because of those 2 losses, I do drop them down to the 2nd overall seed. Now, number 3 overall, I've got Duke. Very self-explanatory. John Shire has the Blue Devils cruising right now. That UNC loss is what it is. I'm not worried about that in the slightest. The Blue Devils come in at number 3 overall for me. And then at number 4 in my 1 seed line, I've got Houston. I like them over UConn here. I have Houston on that one line there, the 4th in the net and in Ken Palm overall. The Cougars are always right at the top. With the way that they play basketball, just that brand, their play style, their game plans, it's really, really good. It wins. It's shown that it wins a lot. So I have Houston as my 4th 1 seed. Moving on to the 2 seeds. Obviously, I have UConn at the top of my 2 line. They're number 10 in the net, number 9 in Ken Palm. 24-2 is just too good to ignore now that I'm at the 5th team mentioned. And they should, with a question mark there, win the Big East. St. John's is their competition there, but I like UConn a lot for obvious reasons. Then I have Iowa State as my second 2 seed there, number 8 in the net, 7th overall in Ken Palm. They have big tests this week. As I'm recording, they play Houston at home tonight after that drudging of Kansas at home. They could fall to a 3, maybe even climb to a 1, based on how this week goes. But the Big 12 just rocks. And Iowa State really is a big driving force of that. My third, number 2 seed is Illinois. They're number 7 overall in the net, number 5 in Ken Palm. They are one of the most efficient teams in the sport. They absolutely routed Indiana on Sunday. The Illini are just cruising. And then my final number 2 seed, this is where things can start to get a little hairy. I have Florida. I've got the Gators as my 4th number 2 seed. They're number 9 in the net, number 6 in Ken Palm. They're just steamrolling through the SEC right now, which is not as impressive as it would have been last year, because the SEC is overall is much weaker than it was last year when they had 13 teams make the tournament, 2 Final Four representatives. But the Gators still look so, so good. And if those guards are heating up and they play the way they are, that they have been for the rest of the year, they might be one of the best teams in the sport, and they could be unbeatable. So for that reason, I do have Florida up to the 2 seed, and the team that they replaced is my top 3 seed, which is Purdue. They're number 5 in the net, number 8 in Ken Palm. They're very close behind the Gators. The gap for me between Florida and Purdue is marginal. If Florida wins by a little bit, Purdue wins by a lot. That's all I need to switch it up. But Purdue just has a few too many close games against bad teams for me to be super comfortable with them. It was a great win against Nebraska on the road there, but you've seen them be close against teams like Oregon. But I cannot stress enough how close they are to Florida in my mind. I just gave it to the Gators really because of how they're currently playing. But Purdue is my top 3 seed. My second 3 seed is Kansas. They're 14th in the net, 15th in Ken Palm. They got drilled by Iowa State on Saturday, but I'm not really that mad at them for it. That place is impossible to play on the road there against the Cyclones. They're 2 different teams without Darren Peterson with and without Darren Pearson, excuse me. That isn't really even a problem, right? Because you saw their non-Peterson squad beat Arizona last Monday, and with DP, we know how good they can play. So they're kind of tricky to evaluate because of that, but I do feel very confident with them on the 3 line. My third 3 seed is Nebraska. They're coming in here with 11th overall in the net, 11th in Ken Palm. Closest at home versus Purdue. You can just shake that one off. If that spot isn't wet, who knows what happens on the last play. Just keep cruising. They can maybe win a tourney game this year. That joke about Nebraska on being a 2 or a 3 seed, that is going to be the most pressure-packed 2 versus 15, 3 versus 14 game of all time for the Cornhuskers to get their first NCAA tournament win. But then my final 3 seed, this is another one where the spots kind of flip with a lot of guys that I see in the mainstream. I have Texas Tech as a 3 seed. They're 16th in the net and the Ken Palm. This team is going to break people's hearts in March. I mean, we saw them almost make the Final Four last year if Walter Clayton didn't do what he did for Florida when they played in the Elite Eight. I have them bumped up a bit compared to a lot of others, really in place of Gonzaga. They just have the star power with guys like JT Toppin. They have the execution to beat anybody. I love how they're coached. I love the way they play. So I've got Texas Tech as a 3 seed. Could this be recency bias because they just beat Arizona? Maybe. But I really do believe that Texas Tech, as the season continues, you're going to see them get up to that 3 line and a lot more projections and maybe get there on Selection Sunday. And like I said, they replaced my top 4 seed, which is Gonzaga. They're 6th in the net, 10th in Ken Palm. I can't quite get there with this addition of Gonzaga. They're obviously a great team, should be a second weekend team. And I'm not really the loss to Pacific is not for me like a bottleneck. You're not a good team. It just showed me that they have the ability to collapse, and I don't like that. I don't like it at all. So because of that, because their strength of schedule, isn't like what it is with some of these other power conference teams, I have them down at my top 4 seed. My next 4 seed is Vanderbilt. They're 13th in the net, 12th in Ken Palm. They smacked Texas A&M and Auburn this past week, and they proved in this A&M game that they can handle teams without Tyler Tanner doing much. He only scored 4 points against A&M, but Vandy still cruised. I like how they've shown that depth, how other guys can win them games. I'm very high on the Commodores as we approach March. My third 4 seed, here's where Michigan State is there, 15th in the net, 13th in Ken Palm. I mean, Fears is great. Tom Izzo is Tom Izzo. They're going to be a very tough out in terms because of their game plan, because we know how Tom Izzo gets those guys ready. The Spartans are not going to be a team anybody wants to see in the bracket. And then my final 4 seed, I've got Arkansas here. They are 18th in the net, 17th in Ken Palm. Calipari's ready. I mean, he has got this team clicking right now. Darius Acuff is just unguardable, so you got to look out for the Hogs. If you're the 1 seed and you see Arkansas pop up as maybe your 4, don't get caught looking ahead, because man, Arkansas is a really dangerous team. So those are my seed lines 1 through 4. Let's move on to the fun part, some of the bubble talk. Starting off with Texas, I think that they make it. That win against Missouri this past weekend was big. Their schedule lines up where they can keep on stacking wins, and they get a home matchup with the Florida Gators. That could be a massive resume booster for Texas that they can pull that upset. I like them a lot. Texas, in my mind, will make the tournament. Georgia, I think they're going to miss it. This is just a disaster of a team. They've been down their leading scorer in Wilkinson for a few games now, but they're just dropping games in like inexplicable fashion. Oklahoma, who I do think is a solid team, like Georgia was up by, I think it was 7 early in the second half, and they lost that game by 16. Like Mike White is just not it. I think Georgia's going to keep stumbling, keep falling. I think the Bulldogs end up missing the tournament. And then Missouri, who Texas beat in the bubble game of the year on Saturday, they have several opportunities still to get big time wins. They play Tennessee, they play Arkansas twice, and then you're going to obviously have the SEC tournament in Nashville to get some more wins against good opponents. They're a coin toss. I think that they do have what it takes to stack a few more wins against tournament caliber teams and make it. So Missouri, I'll say, also gets in. Texas will get in. Georgia, I think, misses it. But that will do it. Those are my top 4 seed lines and my bubble watch on Monday, February 5th, 16th. I'm not good with dates. I'm horrible with them. Doesn't matter. But that's my bracket update for February 16th. If you have been enjoying my basketball coverage as well as my transfer portal and football coverage, please subscribe to me here and follow me on Twitter. I'll be doing it all year long. But thank you so much for watching this episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I've been Will Thomas, and I will see you next time.